brought her tail.
Oh, that's beautiful. Is that your favorite color?
And purple and rainbow.
It changes on a daily basis.
At the time that I transitioned, I was like one of the only people transitioning at such a young age. And it was a little bit scarier for me because no one else was like me.
Sit down with Daddy, please sit down.
And to see this little girl in this photo shoot who is also transitioning, it almost reminds me of a little version of myself. You ready for this?
So what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. I wanted to start off the video with a clip of Jazz, you know, when they were introducing Jazz to the world, or like, you know, the first season or whatever, because what we need to remember about this situation is that Jazz spawned off a generation of this type of, you know, normalization of Munchausen by proxy, right? So, you know, Jeanette was on top of things. Jeanette had Jazz in our faces from the 2020 interviews before, when Jazz was like 6 years old, up until, you know, Jazz got the seasons in TLC. But even before then, Jazz was going to different award shows, GLAAD Awards and everything else as the transgender child, right? So this has been a mission. And on the show, even before the show, they were going through the whole boys and girls sports kind of discussion, all of this stuff that we didn't know, at least I didn't know, was happening in society. Like, I did not know we were having these kind of discussions. And I almost feel like, you know, I thought especially when the show came out, I just thought that Jazz was, I just kind of thought like, okay, this is one child. I didn't know that it was supposed to like be this starting point for a whole movement. And because of this, you know, I want to introduce you to this child who went on and went in the same steps as Jazz. The problem is with these kids is that when I go back to see, I try to look these kids up to see like, who are they today? How are they doing? You can't find any of them. You can't find the little one just now with the mermaid tail. You can't find the older ones that Jazz ends up, you know, influencing into these kind of things, allegedly, in my opinion. But so you just can't find them today. Like, what happened to them today? Like, they're just gone.
Dr. Olson had a decision.
You are in the perfect place to start on blockers.
And she promises to begin giving her estrogen, female hormones, in 2 years.
Around 13. You're not going to develop breast buds on the blockers, but you're not going to wait until 16 to start. You know that, okay?
Josie received the blockers as
A lot of times it strikes me that had this happened just 20 years ago,
Thank you.
I wouldn't have been able to give her blockers and she would have had to go through male puberty. That terrifies me.
It's all done. Do you want a hug?
I don't know that she would have survived male puberty.
And so allegedly, in my opinion, I think this person should be incarcerated. But let's look at the responses to this. Of course, Live to TikTok says, what you're watching is one of the greatest medical scandals in modern history. Thousands of kids and adolescents sold the lie that they were born in the wrong body. And if they permanently alter their body, they can be happy. This video should infuriate you. And it does infuriate me. It does. Now, you know, Erin Elizabeth Health Nut News, she's always amazing. She tells us who this person is. This is Joanna. The doctor's name is Joanna Olson Kennedy, a female, of course, who has borderline personality disorder herself, in my opinion, of course. Because, I mean, just look at the smile, okay? So Joanna Olson Kennedy, MD. Joanna Olson, so they're going through all the stuff, is an adolescent medicine physician specializing in the care of gender nonconforming children and transgender youth. Board certified in pediatrics and adolescent medicine, Dr. Olson Kennedy has been providing medical intervention for transgender youth and young adults, including puberty suppression and cross-sex hormones, for the past 16 years, and is considered a national expert in this area. She is the medical director of the Center for Trans Youth Health and Development at Children's Hospital in Los Angeles, of course, Los Angeles first, the largest transgender youth clinic in the United States. Dr. Olson Kennedy is an associate professor of clinical pediatrics at Keck School of Medicine at USC. So now what you have here is this person. First of all, they're saying that she's a national expert in this area. She can't be an expert in something that they don't have enough data to be an expert on. What I will at least give Jazz's surgeon, I can't remember his name at the moment, he was at least honest one time and said, well, they don't have enough data to know like where this will all go in the future. You know, they're basically kind of just going along and doing these things and trying to figure it out as they go. But this person says they're an expert. And an expert is something that the data has not been collected on fully, right? This is experimenting. That's what it is. So for me, this is where Munchausen by proxy becomes this thing to me where it's almost broad now. It's like you can't catch it anymore because, you know, in the definition, they say that it could be a mother or caretaker or somebody providing some sort of care to children. That's what Joanna does, right? That's what Joanna does. She's a pediatric doctor. You know, she's working in peds, so she's providing care to children. The thing is, can we call it necessarily Munchausen by proxy? No, not in this definition. But to me, it is definitely part of a borderline personality disorder. Why do I say that? You're gonna be like, dag, Casey, you just think everybody has borderline personality disorder. No, it's not that I think everybody has it. I think everybody has an element to themselves where they either want to seek attention or they want to feel important, right? Who doesn't want to feel important? I think that's normal. But there are people who have different elevated levels of that, where they need constant affirmation from the world. And it doesn't have to be like Joanna doesn't have to be at the point where her BPD, alleged BPD, in my opinion, narcissism, it doesn't have to be at the point where she's necessarily, you know, every day doing something to get attention. No, she's very much validated in her position. Look how she talked to the child. We're going to put you on puberty blockers. You're not going to get buds yet. You'll get them later. We're going to do estrogen. No questions asked. No discernment ever in her speech to say, should I really be doing this? You know, I don't know. That question never gets asked because Joanna is saving children. She's important. She's saving children. She's the beacon of hope for these kids. And without her, what would they do without her? Okay, so you see the delusions of grandeur, okay? Because without you, they'd be fine, to be honest, okay? But there's a lot of people in the medical field that are like this. I have seen this with my own eyes. There are a lot of people in the medical field that go into this so that they can be thanked for the good that they're doing. You can tell, you know, this is not a bizarre thought, nor is it anything that should be alien to the ears. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is real. But let's just look at one more clip of this child, and it really pisses me off in every...
Treatment is irreversible and would make Josie sterile. But Josie and her mother never doubted it was the right thing until an unexpected conversation happened one afternoon.
But on the inside, where nobody else can see,
Yeah.
are you a boy or are you a girl?
Maybe I'm a boy inside and a girl outside.
Really?
Yeah, is that true?
Only you know the answer to that. So if you wanted to grow up to be a man,
Yeah.
would you tell me?
Yeah.
Hey, if you wanted to grow up and be a man, you could.
I want to be... Sometimes I think I'm a boy, sort of, but I want to be a girl.
Yeah.
Will you have me if I'm a boy?
Of course. I would love you no matter what.
Okay, let me stop right there. And so what you hear is, okay, we'll get to mom now. Children at this age, and I think at this time in this child's life, he must have been, I want to say 9, because the doctor said that she would start giving him estrogen in like 2 years or something. He's 11. Don't quote me. Because you're not going to tell me this is an 11-year-old already. I refuse to believe that. And why would you start puberty blockers all the way at 11? That's another lie too. Like, oh, we started puberty blockers at 11. At 11, a lot of kids are already going through puberty. Okay, so I'm sick of the lies. But this child basically is saying like, well, would you still love me as a boy? Like, so children at this age, this is the exact moment where they're still looking for validation from their parents or the older people around them, teachers, you know, doctors or whatever. But most, you know, parents and teachers, they want their affirmations to come from those people. And that's understandable. Like a 9-year-old is not really going to say like, my affirmation comes from the Lord. It takes a very extraneous situation for a 9-year-old to already know that. But for the most part, and especially here, this child is performing for mom. And they just put an invasive therapy into this child's arm. Now, mom, I hope, because since I can't find this child, I really hope that mom was able to realize the mistake that she's been making and remove this child out of the situation. I'm praying because, like I said, I can't find these kids. So I go back to get the update because this actual footage that you just saw was from somewhere like 2016. And I never can find these kids. So it's really, really weird to me. So I'm just praying that for this child, mom was like, you know what? Let me go seek some therapy and find out what's going on with me, that I needed to push this on my child. Or maybe, maybe the contracts didn't come in, and that could have saved the child too. Maybe the phone calls didn't come, this child didn't have it to, hold up a whole seasons of a big show on a network. Okay. Remember, Jazz was fed this delusion from day one. So it's easier for Jazz to hold up a whole show and everything else that goes around a brand. I am Jazz, because Jazz has been doing this since Jazz can remember. Okay. So Jazz has been made for this. This child is already saying, I don't know what's going on with me. Right. And then you can't find nothing else. And thank God. And I hope again that all of this was just left alone, because what the child said is what's normal. Children. So we're listening to children and we're doing invasive therapy on children. Now, the puberty blocker rods, at least they could be removed. And if this happens fast enough, then yes, that's when it is reversible. Still have time. But when you go into puberty blockers and then you're doing an estrogen and it's been like years, you've already have made some changes where the development has not really happened, where even when they stop, okay, they stop, and that'll be great. That will be great. But not everything's going to go back to normal. Right now, hopefully, like I said, hopefully this child is living as a young man now. A teenage boy, maybe like 18 or something. I pray. I do. Because these are kids. Like, what are you doing? And sometimes it hits you when you're making these episodes and these videos, like, these are kids. This is not normal. This is not right. And I can't use the word that I want to use with what these mothers are doing to their children because of obviously liability purposes. But these are children. How can people do this to kids? Let the kid grow up, at least become 18. And even at 18, really, you still make, you know how many silly decisions I made at 18, but dang, at least maybe we could feel like somewhere in this is a bit humane. A lot of people say after they've gone through the puberty, that weird feeling goes away. Yes, it's called being an insecure adolescent. It is normal. It's normal. It's okay not to be sure of yourself. It's okay. Instead, they push these children into these situations. It's just a lot to think about. But here we are today, but we talk about it in reality, and we don't hate anybody. The Lord still loves these kids. We don't hate anybody. Okay? Everybody can be their best in the Lord. Until next time, folks, I'll see you at the next video. Bye.